Well, my device is telling me it's time to start, so let's do it. I can't tell if there's anyone zooming in, or how does that, I know we had somebody zoom in an hour early, so there might be people joining later. When they do, they do. So those who are in the room and those who are online on YouTube are in the Zoom room. We're all included in this community. So I'd like to just start with, it's really wonderful to have this group gathered in Olympia, and from Seattle, from Port Townsend, and I know people drove up from Portland, and well, who maybe has come the furthest? Anyone want to guess who's come the furthest? Maybe Portland? Yeah. Okay, I think you get the prize. All right, well, Passaddhi Vihara is a fairly new piece of the constellation of the Dhamma here. And what we're celebrating today is the end of what's called Vasa. And I know some of you have been in the monastic circles and kind of know this lingo, and some not. So what Vasa is a time period of usually 3 months, sometimes they stretch it to 4, where the monastics stay in place. So Ayasuvijana and I, as the monastics at Passaddhi Vihara, moved into an apartment across the street at Butler Cove and began our residence a couple months before the Vasa. And monastics judge their age by number of Vasas. So we can say Passaddhi Vihara is 1 Vasa old, and this is our birthday celebration. So that's just amazing that within a few months, there's already this many people gathered in community, and there's more who have supported from afar. So Passaddhi Vihara, as 1 Vasa, we arrived in Olympia about 6 months ago, and we just filed for incorporation with the state of Washington a few months ago. Thank you, Sianita, for that wonderful support and the ongoing. We have a board of directors. Andrew's on that. Mudita's our tech lead, and a number of other people that I think Andrew will mention some more later. So this much community already forming is highly uplifting. And that's what today is about, is the uplift and the celebration. We owe this budding community to the Dhamma already being here. So thank you, Clear Mountain. I think you're 3 years now in the Pacific Northwest as Clear Mountain, is that right? And Parayana Vihara got it first here in kind of a low-key sabbatical, we're just practicing mode, but coming out of that in the last year and into a new name, Parayana Vihara. So from Clear Mountain, we have Ajahn Kovalo with 15 Vasa. Remember, that's counting how old. Ajahn Nisabo with 12 Vasa. I actually, in my notes, only got the 1 in here. I'm so sorry. But I think I'm remembering correctly, right? 12 Vasa. Samaneri Junha, who's, Samaneri means a novice. So considered a ward of the Sangha, that in-between time, and I believe is the first Theravada Samaneri in Washington State. The ordination was last year in Port Townsend. Ayananda Bodhi, also from that community, would have loved to have come, but had very important pre-engagement, and we picked our date after that date was already set. So sends well wishes. Also, in the wider Olympia area, there are a number of Buddhist groups that we've connected with, including the Theravada in Olympia group that meets at... Oh, Ayasuvijana says, I forgot us. There's no self. Ayasuvijana has 15 Vasa, and is the senior at Passaddhi Vihara, and I'm Ayanianika, and I have 7 vasa. So on to the wider Olympia area. We're connected with groups, the Theravada in Olympia that meets at Wat Budankura, thank you. The Olympia LGBTQI group, Jude Rosen's group, and also the OUUC Buddhist group that meets right here on Thursday nights. Some of you have met there. The celebration and ceremonies today come from the hearts of the people gathered, and also those who weren't able to come today but are connected online or come to our weekly alms. There's a wonderful support at the weekly alms on Tuesdays, and one of the key people had to fly out today, so wasn't able to make it here today, but we include them as well. And also, I want to say that this event is carrying forward that essence of the traditions from Asian Buddhist countries, but it also includes the generosity and celebration as practiced in many cultures and communities, including the UU Church right here. So we've got parades with elephants and chanting in ancient language of Pali, and we're going to mix that with offerings in English and chanting and Dhamma sharing. So this is kind of a taster of the celebration side of Buddhist practice in the Theravada world. And I'll just say that Passaddhi Vihara is supported at the intersection of these open heart practices as they foster the continuation of the Buddhist teaching in the world through monastic development and Dhamma sharing. So let's celebrate together, and let's start with a story time with Aya Suvijana. I think the children could come forward if they, or no, they're going to need to be able to see the screen, right?
Yeah, they need to see the screen.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to our resident storyteller.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Well done, Aya. I just love stories, and this particular story is believed to have happened. It's about the Buddha, the Lord Buddha, and an elephant. And at the time of the Buddha, there you see on the screen, this is, if they want to see the slides, you'd have to move your seats, but go ahead. So stories are important teachings. And this is one way we learn, and through direct experience. And people, it's said this actually happened, and the story has been passed down by word of mouth, and also in engravings and paintings on walls depicting the story that happened with the Buddha and Nalagiri the elephant. So at that time, the Lord Buddha was staying in the bamboo grove, and there he is sitting in the bamboo grove with a large assembly of monastics. And they were meditating late into the night, and the Buddha was teaching them late into the night. And they would go in the morning. So in the morning, they would go into the city of Rajagaha for alms, a large assembly of monks. And bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, we believe, would be following the Buddha into the city, and they would receive alms. And you can see that the people really respected and loved the Buddha. But there was this one monk who was very jealous of the Buddha. His name was Devadatta. He was actually the cousin of the Buddha, and it said that they were rivals many lifetimes, including during their childhood they were rivals. And so Devadatta was quite jealous of how everyone loved the Buddha and followed the Buddha. He didn't have the wisdom and compassion that the Lord Buddha had. He didn't have the unique teaching that the Buddha was bringing to the world. But he just wanted that love. He had going about it the wrong way, the absolutely wrong way. In fact, so terrible was this jealousy. It was like insane jealousy that he had towards the Buddha, that he attempted to kill the Buddha. He had 2 attempts on the Buddha's life, and he failed. So he was still figuring out how to defeat the Buddha. And he thought that if he defeated the Buddha, he would take the position of the Buddha, which was a very mistaken idea. So we could change the slide. So at that time, during that time, the kingdom had a large cavalry of elephants, and they used elephants in battle, just like tanks. And so, we went ahead. That's okay. So you can see there many elephants, and there was this one elephant that was a very fierce, notorious elephant named Nalagiri. So you can change it now. So Devadatta, who he impressed and befriended the king of Rajagaha, and he had this idea that he would use Nalagiri, the elephant, to kill the Buddha. So they're plotting. So they decide early in the morning, they would send the elephant in the pathway of the Buddha. They would get the elephant enraged and send the elephant in the pathway of the Buddha. So there would be the battle between the Buddha and the elephant. Who would win the battle? They thought for sure the elephant would win because this is this fierce, terrible elephant. You can see, change it again. Whoops, there he is. He's a fierce elephant, Nalagiri. So they, what they did is they had this mead, this liquor, and they got the elephant drunk on this liquor, and then they agitated him, hit him with sticks, and then they released him in the pathway of the Buddha. So Nalagiri charged down the streets of Rajagaha in the direction of the Buddha, who was coming on alms with a large assembly of monks. And the people were running and saying, Nalagiri is coming, help, Nalagiri is coming. And people were climbing up on the roof, and they were saying, who's going to win the battle between the elephant, the Naga? There's the word Naga, which is a great being. And elephants are called Nagas. And one of the epithets for the Buddha is Naga. So which Naga is going to win? So people are climbing up on the rooftops so they could see what was going to happen with the Buddha and the elephant. So meanwhile, the monks had heard that Nalagiri, the rumor had spread, just how things happen in communities. These rumors spread, so they got a tip that the elephant was going to be released. But they came in for alms anyway. The Buddha said, no, I'm not afraid. I'm going to face this elephant. And so they kept saying, no, please don't go. And we'll do some psychic powers too. There were some of the monks that were developed in psychic powers, so they would somehow prevent this from happening. And the Buddha said, no, we're just going to walk calmly into Rajagaha, just like we usually do. Don't worry. And so, I'm just paraphrasing. So this whole thing is paraphrased. This is a talk story, you see. So this is my version of the story. You'll look at online, it'll be entirely different. So anyway, they're peacefully walking in, and as they're coming, they see the elephant coming. And Ananda, who's another cousin of the Buddha, but he loves the Buddha, he's a devoted attendant of the Buddha, stood in front of the Buddha and said, "No, I'll be the first to die. I want to protect the Buddha." And the Buddha said, "No, please stand behind me." So the Buddha started radiating loving kindness in the direction of the elephant. So the elephant, you know, animals are very sensitive, and if you're developing loving kindness, they can sense it. But this was a drunk, enraged elephant heading in the pathway. So the Lord Buddha's metta, his loving kindness, was so strong that it encompassed the mind of the elephant. The elephant could sense it. And his intoxication went away, his anger went away, he calmed down, and then he slowly approached the Lord Buddha. So then the Buddha, the Nalagiri, the elephant, came close to the Buddha, and he bowed down before the Buddha. And the Buddha put his hand on the Nalagiris. He comforted the elephant, because he could see there was really fear also. Behind that, all that anger was fear. And he said, "You're safe now," and comforted the elephant. And from then on, the elephant, Nalagiri, no longer harmed any living being. And he lived the rest of his life peacefully. So that's the story of Nalagiri and the elephant. And the story doesn't end here, because all of us have the capacity for this loving kindness, to develop compassion, loving kindness. So if the Buddha can be our example, that we can develop this in our hearts, and that for us to face, we're not likely to be facing charging elephants. This is very few of us, unless we're in the jungles of Sri Lanka or other places. They're still wild elephants, but most of us won't. But we will have maybe our internal raging elephant that's going on that we need to calm down. Or if somebody around us is upset or angry, if we're just having this loving kindness in his heart, as much as we can, develop metta, then we can be a calm presence in the world, and hopefully we'll have an effect on others. And people do say the more they cultivate loving kindness, even if they have a person that's difficult in their life, and they're developing this loving kindness in regards to that person, they notice a change in the relationship. And maybe it's because we've changed, but people can sense what we have in our hearts. If we have hostility in our hearts, people sense it. If we have loving kindness in our hearts, people sense it. And that's the power that we have. Maybe we won't have the same kind of power that a self-enlightened Buddha has, but we do have an impact in the world. So this is the story of Nalagiri and the elephant, and I just wanted to share this, and I thought this might be interesting for the children too. So,
Sparkly sadhus. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu,
Oh, and we have an opportunity to reaffirm 5 precepts, and these are loving kindness in action, because the precepts are designed for the idea of non-harming. If we follow these precepts, we're offering safety and our kindness to the world. So Aya Nyanika is going to lead the precepts.
So you have a sheet with the precepts on it and the asking for the precepts. If you would wish to, you can bow to the Buddha image 3 times. Not necessary. If that feels moving for you, please do. Any of these things are what moves you, what supports you in feeling like you're taking up this practice to tame the angry elephant. And this practice where we're providing safety in the world. What the precepts are is we're providing safety in the world. So that all the angry elephants out there, there's a spot where they can say, oh, I don't need to trample there. And they can see there's another way. And it's just good for the elephants in our heart, too. So, would you begin? You would just start with the request, and we will do the namo, and then so go ahead and do the request, and then I'll lead from there. So this was the request for us to ceremonially affirm this tradition of what's called sila, ethics, goodwill in the world. So please, I will say Namo Tassa 3 times, and then you'll say it 3 times, all as a group. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And what we're taking next is refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And by the Buddha, that's the awakening, this brightness that is taming the elephant. The Dhamma is the teaching that leads to that liberation, and the Sangha is that other people have done this too. They've realized it's possible to actually tame these angry elephants. So I'll say each line once and repeat each line after me. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dhammang saranang gacchāmi. Sanghang saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi bhutang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi bhutang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tisarana-gamanang nititang. This completes the taking of the 3 refuges. So then we'll do the 5 precepts, and I'll do the Pali, and I think there are enough of you that I'll do the whole line because I think there are enough of you that can do that. And repeat it in Pali, and then please read it in English, so that way we really know what it is that we're committing to as a training. This is not like, oh, you're going to walk out the door and be perfect in these 5 things. This is a training. This is how we begin to work with the angry elephant. Panatipata veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Adinatana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Kame sumichachara veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Surha merya majapamadarthana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Imani pancha sika patani silena sugatim yanti silena bhoga sampada silena nibutim yanti tasma silang visodaye. These are the 5 precepts. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified. And now that we've settled in this good sila, this good sense of safety that we're giving into the world, we can turn to some meditation together. Ajahn Nisabo, would you lead us in meditation? Let's 15? Yeah.
So people can sit and settle in. How's the volume? Okay. Make sure the spine is upright. If you're sitting in a chair, your feet are flat on the ground, rooted. Allow the top of your head to press up against the sky. Lower your chin slightly and soften your eyes, your brow, your jaw. Smile on the inside of your mouth. Soften your belly and allow the breathing to just slow and deepen. Just take a second to come to center. I think it's an appropriate day to bring up Buddha Anusati, recollection of the Buddha, the root of our tradition in this teaching. So we can imagine that we're waking up in the Ganges Valley of India 2,500 years ago. Our eyes slowly adjusting to the dark interior of our little house. It's still dark outside. Stars are shining. It's the quiet sound of your family breathing around you. And suddenly you remember, today's the day you heard yesterday that the Buddha had come to your village. You'd heard of him for years before this. Tales from your friends, from travelers, of some great light growing in the Ganges Valley, some being who people said had somehow achieved full enlightenment. You've seen monks and nuns pass through the village since. You've been inspired by their bearing, their humility. And then yesterday, someone said he'd come, finally. The Buddha'd come. And so suddenly you spring into awakeness, all the drowsiness gone. You slip as quietly as you can from the bed so as not to wake the others and go to the kitchen. You've thought yesterday about what to prepare, and you've gone to the market. This chance now to give something to someone who's enlightened. Your village has been struck by famine, your brothers taken by war, sickness. Life is not always good, and yet this, something different. And so carefully you begin to prepare fruit, a mango, another dish. You're excited, but also so focused you don't almost hear the rest of your family get up. Not all of them are as interested as you, so with your basket of food in hand, you exit the door just as the dawn is beginning to take the land, birds singing, and you see around you different neighbors, others from the village, moving down the road, all in one direction, a growing stream, and you join them. There's lepers, there's people of different castes, Brahmins from the other neighborhood, and yet as you all move out from the village towards a grove, you all know where the mendicants stay. The number of people grows, and there's a brightness on many faces, an excited chatter in some, but you are quiet. Finally, a chance to see something that's different than all the suffering you've known. You don't know what to expect. And then suddenly that stream of people becomes quiet, almost as if you've just hit a quiet wall as you enter this grove. And you see why under the tree in front of you. There's a man seated in robes, a regal bearing, tall, pure, calm. And you see people have lined up in front of him on their knees, bowing and giving food into his hands, one after the other. And on one side you see a line of monks stretching out. You've heard of these monks. You hear the names on the lips of those around you, Venerable Sariputta, Mahamoggallana, great beings whose names have echoed around the village time and again. They seem serene. And on the other side, you see the order of bhikkhunis, these nuns, something very new to you, and yet also serene, their faces pure in a way that is so striking in the dawn light. And yet your eyes can't leave the Buddha as he's gently looking down at each person coming to him. A quiet smile on his face as he accepts each piece of food into his hands. Somehow in that smile there's a profound compassion, something that's not quite sadness, but a luminosity, but also part of you knows that he sees that which in you, which has felt lost and broken for so long. So you shuffle on your knees up to him. More and more nervous until finally it's your turn next, and the person in front of you bows and shuffles away, and it's just you and the Buddha sitting in front of you, gazing at you kindly with an open gaze. His hand gently offered to you to place your offering of food in. And so in that moment you cup the fruit, place it with trembling hands into his palm. You do the same with the other dish, barely able to raise your eyes, but when you finally do, you see that he's been gazing at you this whole time. A gentle smile on his lips. And in that moment, everything else goes quiet, the bird song, the chatter behind you. And you believe for the first time truly that this difficult and dusty life is not all there is, that you've just seen the dawn. And you can't look away. And it's only one moment until you find yourself almost automatically just doing 3 bows and then shuffling to allow room for the next person. And yet in that moment, it's all you could have wanted. Somehow a moment that made sense of everything else in your life, to meet for one moment the fully enlightened one. Feel somehow broken open and at the same time made whole at the same time. So you move off to the side and watch as all the others offer their meal, as the monks and nuns take what food they need. And the whole time you just gaze at the Buddha, his ochre robes, hoping to hold that image in your heart for as many years as you can. So we can just sit with that echo of an image 2,500 years ago given to us. That same note now. As we sit together listening for its final or its far echoes. along with the sound of Ethan and the little one running outside. And just rejoice that that note continues to resonate even today here.
Well, on the program we have the inviting of the devas. I wish we'd done it before the story because I think they would have loved it. And the meditation. They're probably already here. So the devas are like the celestial beings who also delight in hearing the Dhamma. So we'll invite the devas to come to listen to the Dhamma. And then Andrew will do the requesting of the Dhamma talk in Ajahn Kovalo, about 20 minutes, maybe less, whatever. Excellent. And I'll do it in the Pali language. Paritvana metang sameta badanta avikita chitta paritang banantu samanta chakavale suatra gachantu devata sadamang muniraja sasunantu sagamokadang sage kame charupe girisika chantali ke vimane dipe rate chagame taruvana gahane ge havatum hike te Bhumha chayantu deva jalatala visame yaka ganda banaga titanta santi keyang munivarvachanang sadavo me sunantu Buddha dasana kalo ayang badanta Dhamma savana kalo ayang badanta Sangha pairupasana kalo ayang badanta
Venerables, we, with all gathered here, present this cloth. No, wrong one. Wrong one. Take two. I need a minute. Bhante, Ayas, I would request that we receive a lesson in Dhamma in brief for our happiness and well-being.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Andrew, you have a very nice voice. Thank you. That was really beautiful. I'd never heard the Dhamma talk request actually said in English and so explicitly. So this is a really lovely scene that we have here, and I invite everybody to just look around and take in the whole space, all the other people here, all the cardboard here, all the elephants. So many elephants in the room. So much love. I love it how he's bending, he's bowing, just like Nalagiri. And I only started to feel it, I think, when you were giving your the meditation instructions, but just all the quilts that we're surrounded with, all the softness, kind of holding the space, holding the sound in. And it's interesting to take a metaphor of a quilt for a Dhamma practice, because really we are all our own quilts, and all of our quilts, our Dhamma lives, look different. We're basically just patching different things together. We hear a teaching here from somebody, we hear another teaching over there, and whatever we take what we can get, and these are just scraps of a teaching here, and maybe they're beautiful, maybe it's bright, it's a bright golden patch, or maybe it's just a bigger, just very humble blue jeans. And we take what we can get. And really, for I think most of us here, we weren't born in Buddhist countries. We weren't born into Buddhist families. And our patchwork quilts are all the more unique. Very, it's not like the type of quilt with just a certain number of, very clear grid pattern and something that you might easily create from a spreadsheet. But yeah, just scraps here, scraps there, whatever we pick up. The Buddha Dhamma being the teachings of the Buddha, that's the Pali version of Dharma. It comes from the word, or the root dar, which means to hold. So the Dhamma is that which holds our life. And it's the teaching, which is a container for all of the wisdom of the Buddha and all of our own wisdom that we bring to practice. And the Dhamma is full of wonderful stories.
as we've heard, really wonderful and inspiring images that can fill out a life. And there's also lots of lists. We got so many lists in Buddhism. We've got basically any number. We've got 2 things. What are the 2 things? We've got mind and body. 3 things. We've got the threefold training in Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, or that's virtue, concentration, and insight. We got the 4 Noble Truths. We got the 5 powers. We got 6 internal, external sense bases: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. We've got 7 factors of awakening, 8-fold path. And these are just, this is just like one thing of each of these numbers. We've got a whole book called the Anguttara Nikaya, which is just full of all of these different lists. But one really essential list are called the 3 bases of merit. 3 bases of merit. And it's a really cool list because you can see it as encompassing the whole of a Dhamma life. And these 3 things are dana, sila, and bhavana. Those in English are dana, that's generosity, how we give in our practice. Sila, which is virtue, ethics, morality, that which protects us and protects the people we love and protects all the people we don't love, protects society. So it's that which covers the heart. So we've got dana, that which we give, sila, the morality, our virtue, which protects our hearts, protects the world, and bhavana, which is generally translated as meditation, this gesture, the gesture of wholeness, the gesture of meditation. But the word bhavana, it literally means bringing into being, or creation, or development. Creativity could be one translation, which Ajahn Jayasara uses, the creativity, that which we create on our path. So that's what meditation is. It's one way we can be creative in our lives. And in a Buddhist country, it's often taught that those first 2 aspects of giving and precepts, generosity and ethics, that's what lay people do. And leave the meditation, leave that up to the monks and nuns. That's like a higher thing. We're just good, lay people, all they can handle is just, giving stuff to the monks and nuns and then keeping some precepts when you can. But obviously, that's not how most of us who weren't raised in a Buddhist country and don't have such a view. We were raised almost with that whole image flipped. We come to Buddhism first inspired by meditation, this gesture of stilling. And then maybe if we're interested, we bring in the generosity and we bring in ethics. So what is the order of this? What's the natural order? How have we ordered it ourselves of this dana, sila, and bhavana, of generosity, of ethics, and meditation? And it's interesting, I was noticing that in the schedule for today, our afternoon spent together is roughly ordered around these things. First, we request the precepts, and then we give a talk, and we've got guided meditation, and then some reflections. This is the cultivation, this is the creativity, the development, developing our understanding of the path, developing our own minds, developing the mind's capacity to pay attention to one thing over a period of time. That's what samadhi is, that's what concentration is mindfulness over time. That's what we're developing. And then after that, we've got the ceremonial aspect of giving robe cloth. And in our own lives, it's good to find a balance and really look at what actually nourishes the heart. What actually nourishes the heart? It's a beautiful ideal that meditation, we are inspired, we sit a little bit, we read about the health benefits of meditation, and that's all true. And it's great, it'd be great. The more we can meditate and lower our blood pressure, fantastic, that's great. And we can bring more of that into our lives. But I think most of us who've been practicing for a while, really, you come to feel that you need more. There's more to a Dharma life. There's more beauty to the practice, and you see it in others first. And then you intuit, you infer. When you see someone else's Dhammic beauty, you come to a meditation event, or you come to a day like this, and yeah, you've got great meditators, but you've also got people who've been practicing precepts for their whole lives since they were children. You've got people who have a daily practice of giving, and you just see the brightness in their face, the brightness of heart that can bring, and you're like, oh, I could use some of that. And really finding ways to instantiate giving into your practice. It's great when we instantiate meditation into our lives. Have a 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour and a half of meditation in the morning, in the evening. You can do it on Zoom. We do it together. We've got, through Clear Mountain, we've got a Zoom room you can come and sit in. But how do you instantiate the other factors of your life? How do you instantiate and make giving a real daily practice for yourself? How do you instantiate? How do you live the precepts? And give some time to thinking about that. And you can do it, you can paste it up on your wall before you leave your room. I know one person who has the 5 precepts pasted on their wall, and before they even leave their bedroom, they'll read out the 5 precepts. I undertake the precept to refrain from killing. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which has not been given, from inappropriate sexual activity, sensual misconduct, from lying, from taking intoxicants. And then, okay, I can leave the room. How do you do this? And finding creative ways to do it, because all of these things bring beauty to their life, and they do all support one another. When you give, you'll find that you can give up more easily. When you have a practice of dana, you'll find that you don't need as much, and you definitely don't need to steal. And when you have less things, when you're of a habit to give away and live a more simple life, then the mind becomes simple. So giving helps and develops ethics, and it develops and helps meditation. Meditation develops and helps sila. It helps ethics, and it helps generosity. And ethics helps giving, and it helps development. It helps creativity. It helps this meditation of mind. So, challenge to everybody. Do this. Spend some time. It's good when you sit down to be clear about what you're doing. What is your meditation object? It's good to be clear about that. For this next 15 minutes, for these next 20 minutes, I'm going to stay with the breath, whether it's at the tip of the nose or in the belly. The next half an hour, I'm going to stay with the mantra, stay with the word Buddha, stay with the word Guanyin Pusa, homage to Guanyin Bodhisattva. I'm going to stay with whatever. So really being clear when you sit down to meditate. But please, next time you sit down, give yourself 5 minutes at the end. Say, okay, I'm going to sit for the next 20 minutes. 15 minutes, I'm going to pay attention to my breath at the tip of the nose. But for the final 5 minutes, I'm actually going to give 5 minutes, and I'm going to have a piece of paper next to me and write down, or at least think about how I can instantiate, how I can live the precepts, how I can live and instantiate, and really make a practice, not just a practice of cultivation, of meditation, but a practice of giving, a daily practice of precepts. And these things grow. That's the beauty of karma. What is karma? Karma is habit. Karma is action over time, which is habit. And these do grow. The Buddha said that it is possible to abandon the unwholesome, and it is possible to cultivate the wholesome. It is possible to cultivate a generous heart. It is possible to cultivate a heart of protection for oneself and for others, this practice of sila. So maybe we can all do these hand gestures together. So practice giving, hands going out, giving to the world, coming back, protecting the heart, protecting the world, protecting our loved ones, protecting those who we don't love, and then coming down like this to meditate. Dana, Sila, Bhavana, Dana, Sila, Bhavana, this generosity, protection, meditation, ethics, development, creativity. So in that there, and give that challenge to all of you, and hope you can do it. And now we can have a celebration and a ceremony for instantiating some generosity. So let's do it.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Here we go. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Oh, yes. What a wonderful quilt we are weaving together here. Andrew, would you do some thank yous and a little bit, and then we'll invite, I don't know, do you want to bring the kids and Mudita in? Sorry, Sinita, I'm looking at Mudita. Mike and the kids. Oh, yeah, see, I'm glad it takes a team. All right, so I'm going to give the mic to Andrew. And after this, Andrew will invite everyone to join in. So this is not just Andrew and Mudita doing this, and it's not just those who brought the flowers and the gifts. This is a network of giving. And I'll pass it to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Aya. I would like to thank all of Passaddhi Vihara's supporters, including Mudita on the tech team, Sianita as treasurer and MVP of the day, Kat, who helps with newsletters and meal dana coordination, the AV team that's here today, Cheryl, Trevor, Kirk, and so many familiar faces from Clear Mountain. Hi, Devin. I've seen one person I recognized on Zoom.
We also thank Mary Gear also,
Ah,
the Reverend
Reverend of the Church.
the Reverend
of the church here.
who's here now. I would like to thank everyone around the world who is helping Passaddhi Vihara spread the Dhamma to the West. Now is the time for the cloth offering and other useful items. Everyone who wants to come up and bow, form a chain. Mudita.
Now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness.
This is what
Should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later refute, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, through from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.